Welcome back to this special I24 News coverage of Operation Breaking Dawn. Joining me now here in studio, Mr. Dan Perry, International Affairs Analyst and former Middle East Editor at the Associated Press, and our own I24 News Senior Middle East Correspondent Ariel Osseron. Thank you, gentlemen, very much for your time. So I would like to begin, Dan, with somewhat of a blunt question. Is there a point to this round?
Look, one can hardly blame Israel for having a zero-tolerance policy towards rockets and acting on concrete intelligence if we are to believe that it was real enough and severe enough as to justify risking a catastrophic conflagration. But I think the bigger picture is we've been here before. This is now 16 years into the Hamas misadventure in Gaza. Israel and Hamas have fought 4 wars and I don't know how many skirmishes. And, you know, Israel seems to have no strategy for ending what is a permanent blockade on 2 million people, which is not entirely reasonable as a long-term policy. The result of this lack of ambition is 2 million people living under hellish circumstances in Gaza, and perhaps 500,000 people in Israel being inconvenienced in ways that are absolutely unreasonable. I understand the lack of ambition because, of course, ambitious schemes in the Middle East have a tendency to blow up in everyone's faces. And I do not expect this government to do much until the election. But after the election, I would hope for something better. What that could be would take up the rest of the show.
But we also need to note, speaking of ambitious or brave steps in the Middle East that can blow up, the mere notion of the current Gaza Strip as is was the bilateral withdrawal of Israel from the Strip and the reality it has created. And it also comes, we must note, after we've seen a row of civil gestures on behalf of Israel, when we're talking about work permits to Palestinian workers to cross into Israel and in other forms. You know, there was this long-standing assumption that if you will see civil gestures, you will not see escalation. This round proves otherwise to an extent, Dan.
Maybe not, though, because you see Hamas's reluctance to join the fighting. That suggests that they are torn between their radical terrorist DNA and their newfound, or actually not that new because it's 16 years, responsibility as rulers of the Strip, dictators, but rulers. So they have to maintain a balance in that. So they are the slightly more reasonable terrorist group. I don't know if that will last because all of us are in the grip of horrific randomality. And, you know, any errant missile or bomb here or there that kills a lot of people could create pressure on either side to escalate. And then there's no telling where it goes.
So, Mr. Dan Perry, International Affairs Analyst and I24 News and Middle East Correspondent, Ariel Osseron, thank you very much for this. We'll be back with more news bulletins throughout the day. Stay updated on i24news.tv. Thanks for watching.